I was interviewed 155 times in a 5-month period. Because I was the first woman in the self-development industry to get paid $1 million to write one book. And it just created a lot of buzz, and I'm very grateful for it. And everyone kept asking me the same question: what did you do? What did you do? What was the moment? What was the moment? And everyone was looking for a moment. So I started looking for a moment, like, what was the moment? Because it wasn't a moment. But if I had to give it a moment, I said to a lot of people that interviewed me, I said, listen, I said, I don't know if you remember that thing that made you decide, but I remember that thing that made me decide. It said $11.42. That I looked at that I looked at that balance, and it was at 7-Eleven. I'll never forget. That's how broken my life was. I was banking at 7-Eleven. I was just going to the ATM, paying all the extra charges because I didn't even want to go to the bank. I knew I had some NSF checks there, so just everything was in chaos. And I saw 1142, and I didn't know at the time that was my moment. But when I look back at it, because everyone kept asking me, what was the moment? The thing that comes in my head was 1142. And then what happened after that? I had to wrap my son Jelani in a series of towels. Wow. For 2 days. And, someone asked me on another occasion, because every time I tell the story, tears come up. And they said, you've told the story so much. Do you ever just make the tears come up to make the moment more important? I said, no, I'm a mama. Every time I tell the story, I'm a mama who had to wrap her son in a towel for 2 days. I don't get excited about telling the story, but I owe you the story because you see public company. I run a multi-million-dollar business. I travel the world. I inspire people. I live a first-class life. But you want to know, more importantly, how did I get there and what was the inspiration? 1142. It was my moment, and I didn't know how to get out of there. It didn't happen overnight when I decided I'm done. There was the ceiling didn't open up and lights didn't come down and angels singing and all of a sudden everything got great. No, nothing changed in my life but my mind. I was bankrupt, and I love to use the word bankrupt because bankrupt means there ain't nothing left. I'm done with this version. I'm ready to press reset. I was bankrupt with being broken. So I began to search. I became an explorer. And I wasn't in school, I was a C average student. I never got above a C+. I wasn't extraordinary in anything except for track. I just gotta say, I was state champion for the record. I held the 330 low hurdle records for 18 years at my high school. I'm just gonna say, but academically, I didn't surpass anything other than average. Academically, I struggled for 12 years in school. I was considered right above special ed. I found out in my 20s that it was primarily because I'm severely dyslexic. Wow. But I didn't know now I use my dyslexia for my advantage. I teach holistically. I go both directions when I teach, right? But then I didn't know. And so 1142, wrapping my son in Pampers and towels until I can afford to buy him Pampers was my moment. And then I became an explorer of information. I knew that if my external circumstance was going to change, I had to learn what I didn't know. I had to learn what I didn't know because I was already using everything I knew. And what I knew was getting me what I was receiving. So apparently people must know something I don't know. And I just literally, someone who didn't, the last time I took an English class, I got a fail. The last time I took a speech class, I got a D-. And my English teacher told me I was the weakest writer she had ever met in her entire life, in front of the entire class, in front of the entire class. And my speech teacher said, Ms. Nichols, quote unquote, I recommend that you never speak in public. You couldn't have told me 20 years ago I'd be one of the featured teachers in The Secret. You couldn't have told me 15 years ago that I'd have 7 bestsellers. You couldn't have told me that I would have reminded you that I got to fail in English. You couldn't have told me 10 years ago that I would be one of the most recognized speakers internationally in Slovenia, in Kazakhstan, in Kiev. I didn't know what those places were because I failed geography. You couldn't have told me, right? And so your assignment is unfolding itself. Your contribution to the planet is unfolding itself in seasons as you can digest it. Because the universe knows, God, whatever you want to call it, knows you can't even handle knowing everything that you're going to do. But here's what I do know. I need to be ready. This body, this tempo needs to be ready to do it. So I know my life is not a race. It's a marathon. I was blessed with an operational system that's asking me to invest in it so that I can live out my divine life purpose. That, like, if I just look at it like that, there's an obligation. When I was on Oprah, I said, I always ask God, what lesson am I supposed to learn in this situation? And she goes, I asked the same thing. And I was like, well, I know I'm asking the right question then.
There you go.
You know,
right.
what lesson am I to learn? And then live like I got the lesson. Otherwise, I got to get the lesson again. And then to recognize that you have to be willing to evict. And I say evict because an eviction is it's over, it's done, get out. Right. Evict is a strong word. You even say it strong, evict.
Yeah.
Like it's just you have to be willing to evict any part of your thinking that doesn't align with where you're going. The last thing that I want to share with you is people want to be convenienced. They want growth and convenience. They want expansion and convenience. And the moment it becomes challenging, they want to quit. My grandmother says, baby, she starts every sentence with baby. I'm sure it's because she can't remember our names. A lot of us. Yeah. She says, baby, your conviction and your convenience don't live on the same block. She said, you have to be willing to be mildly, to moderately, to significantly inconvenienced for that thing that you have a conviction for, that thing that you're passionate about, or at least tell the truth and say you really didn't want it in the first place. But don't sit here and complain and then quit when it gets hard, because everything on the other side of your possible is everything on the other side of what you thought was possible is the impossible waiting to happen in your life. But you will never find your next best version of you sitting inside your comfort zone. So I'm amazed at how many people come to me and they tell me the list of what they want. Then when I give them the what to do, they go, well, that's hard. And then I look at them. And you know me, I'm edgy. I just give them a look. I said, did you think I was going to give you the easy route? And I don't know it for myself. There's no easy in transformation, but you can decide what you want to call difficult. See, I welcome challenging because I know when I do that thing I don't want to do and I say that thing I don't want to say, I access the woman I've always known myself to be.
Quick thing I'd like for you to share is, what is the model? And you've already shared many pieces of this, but what is the model that you're setting with the way that you're living your life personally?
That's funny. You should ask that question. That is so funny, Shawn. In 1992, I named my company. I went down to the Better Business Bureau thing, and my friend was with me, and I said, what's the name going to be? She said, I don't know. I said, I don't know either. She said, well, what do you want to do? I said, I want to inspire people. She said, to do what? I said, to live their best life. She said, well, how you going to do that? I said, I'm going to motivate them. She goes, well, who you going to motivate? I said, everybody. She said, like the masses? I said, the masses. She said, well, why don't we call it motivating the masses? Yeah. I said, okay. And she said, what do you want to be? I said, when it comes to possibility, healing, hope, and getting up, I want to be the standard by which other people measure possibility. And no one has ever asked me that question. But I never forgot my answer when she asked me, because everything I wanted to do was living into that intention of I want what I do, the company, the conversation to be the standard by which what possibility and healing is measured by. Yeah. Determination and resiliency. See, I'm not the fastest kid on the team. I'm not the smartest cookie in the cookie jar. I'm not the cutest girl in line. I'm not. But what I do have is more resiliency and determination than most. I'm not the one that's been able to dodge the bullet. I've been hit by the bullet. But I'm the one who was willing to love the shooter. That's the distinction. I'm not the one who got the hookup. I'm the one who's willing to keep getting up. And if you're willing to keep getting up, you won't ever be afraid of being knocked down. And if you're not afraid of not being knocked down, then you will give yourself permission to fly.